What's up, y'all? Welcome back. I'm Van, and we are all the LFR family. If you're new to this channel, that's the only reason why I'm introducing myself, because I need to stop assuming that everybody that's clicked on the videos are always coming back from my other videos, which is not the case. Because I look at my daggone analytics, and my analytics show me a lot. That is a great deal of more people who have never seen my channel, don't know who the heck I am. Because this world is so huge, man. And plus, we never know what your algorithm look like. Like, I might not have never ever been in front of their faces with anything that they're interested in. You know what I mean? Because we all got our own algorithms, which is great that I am now in yours. So thank you so much for clicking this video. And if like 150 of y'all could share this video, that would be amazing. I don't want to pick out the 150. I just want y'all to do that. All right. So, and everyone who has purchased a hat or shirt from hatsforsale.com, please do me a favor. First of all, I want to say thank you. And everyone who's going to go back and purchase a shirt and a hat, make sure you put an LFR 10 as the promo code so you get 10% off and free shipping all across America.
You teach African American studies at LACC,
Yes.
right? What do you teach about
I
to them?
teach a course in African politics, African American history, and what I teach them, primarily I'm looking at teaching them about how power works.
Give me an example of that.
So how do African Americans find themselves in the condition that they are in America, right? So if we look at all the major indices, right, whether it's health, wealth, et cetera, we have to ask ourselves, right, how did African Americans find themselves in this particular position?
And you say?
So we look at systems of power to sort of pull all of this stuff out.
And so how did most, not all, but most Black Americans end up in such a negative condition?
Well, I think without generalizing, we can say that sure, racism was an integral factor
Meaning what?
in the condition of African Americans, and we can also say that it's probably largely due to slave culture, right?
Really?
Yeah, there's
And
probably...
what is racism?
Well, I think if we were to define it broadly, some people would say that racism is discrimination, prejudice against a certain group of people based on their skin color, but I would argue that that's probably a muted definition, that we would have to add systems of power in that definition, because I can dislike someone just because they have a size 13 shoe, that we may call prejudice, but as long as I don't do anything to you, there's probably really no harm in that. But if I'm able to keep you from having a job because you have a size 13 shoe, that's probably, right, would be, if we were to extend this to race, that would be racial.
So who is stopping Black people from having a job?
That's really a very strange question, because I wouldn't know the circumstances, right? I mean, what do you mean by that?
Because you said racism is the power kind of.
Yeah, there is a power dynamic that has prevented African Americans from achieving the same level of success as, say, whites. And I'll give an example. So if we were to add up the median income of African Americans in the United States, broadly speaking, it would come out to about $3,000 per family. If we were to do that for whites, the amount would be about $100,000 per family. So then how would you then account for the disparity in the amount of financial acumen or resources that a white family has versus a Black family?
So
This brother seems so daggone cool, man. He just sitting back, chilling, got his arms up, legs crossed, got his long locks. He's tapped into his roots clearly, man. When I miss my locks, my gosh, I miss my locks. I don't know why I cut them, man. I grew them for like 6.5 years. Them bad boys was long as hell too, man. My gracious, they look good. I'm gonna show y'all one day if I haven't shown you already. If you're not in the Discord or my Facebook or anything like that, and you haven't seen them yet, or on IG, but yeah, I'm gonna show them to you guys one day. But I understand teaching people, teaching the youth where the original power structure came from and where it is right now and all this other stuff. Hopefully you're not parking there. Hopefully you're not parking in okay, they're the ones with the power, you know that, right? And this is how you notice who has the power. Hopefully we're not parking there. Like, are you telling them something on how to move forward, on how to bridge the gap, on how to start the conversations, or how to do their part in breaking apart all of this racism and this system that everybody's talking about? Hopefully, you're also giving them a great deal of examples, because we're always talking about the median household, and because of circumstances and because of culture, that's a skewed way of measuring anything, in my opinion, because we don't live the same. You can listen to our music and tell that we don't live the same. Seriously, you really can't. I name one white person, one white style of music where they're always talking about how they frivolously spend their money, or how they frivolously put their lives on the line for certain things, or how they take other people's lives. You're not going to hear that. You're not. You're not. And that culture, the culture, thinking that that's what we have to do, or that's what we do. We're so comfortable in that danger, in that darkness. Um, that's something that keeps us bound. I wonder if he teaches that. And one thing that you do when you're constantly telling people of there's an oppressor, there's a power bigger than you. Nah, what you're doing is training them to be victims, is what you're doing. In my opinion, that's just my opinion, bro. Continue to teach what you're teaching. You're doing a great job. You seem extremely educated. I'm sure you have a whole bunch of, degrees and this, that, and the other. And what you're doing is you're doing a good job. Keep on doing what you do. All I'm saying is from my vantage point, I think that's just too much of that will hold people back, and like, you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you came. Okay, you can know where you came and know where you're going. Like my kids. My kids know where they've come from and they know where they're going, because my wife and I, we've set standards, and they've met the standards and they've surpassed the standards because they've created their own standards by doing so. And they, certain things that was cool for their friends or their associates or their enemies to do in school, they was like, okay, I do it sometimes, but that ain't my life. You know what I mean? My parents and I, we have a deal, and they said that as long as I'm doing A, they would do B. That's how life works. So if we're constantly telling somebody to look backwards, dude, you're gonna. I've never seen anybody walk more than 20 feet forward while looking backwards. Because if they do, then that's a detriment to themselves. They can walk out in the street and get hit by a damn car, clip up or something, or fall into a manhole or something. Who knows? Who knows? But I'm just saying, we got to look back. We got to look forward. Look back. Look. That's just watching your six, watching your back, staying alert, teaching people to stay alert. That's cool. But teaching people to always look backwards and to make up excuses for why they aren't achieving or moving forward, that right there is why I got to draw the line, man.
But who's stopping black people from achieving those things?
Well, if we were to look at this from a historical standpoint, there have been a number of significant studies that have drawn this out. For example, Kenneth Hamilton's study on white wealth, black repression, where he clearly outlined how in one particular Texas town, after the Civil War, whites moved physically and through laws to prevent black people from gaining resources, right?
So who's stopping black people from achieving financially now?
Today, that's a really hard one, and I think it's somewhat of a loaded question. So I'll take myself, for example. I think that I've made some fairly decent decisions in my life that have led me to have some financial success. And I think it's all predicated on the fact that I had a really decent college education. And the decision to go to college was my decision, right? So, but I can't speak for everyone, right? All I can understand is that I think America is designed in a way that prevents a lot of African Americans from achieving the same kind of advancement that the white community has.
Who designed it that way, and who's stopping them today?
Whites designed it that
Who's
way.
stopping them
Let's
today?
not get it twisted. Whites have designed the system
So
in a way that
stopping blacks today from being successful?
In some cases, yes. I'll give an example. The way school funding, right? So we look at school funding. School funding is predicated on zip codes, right? So if you live in an area that has high incomes, you'll necessarily go to a school that is well funded. So we know that we can fundamentally understand that. So the proper way to do this would be to apportion the school funding so it's even-handed. So we take a little bit of money from a wealthy community and spread it to the poorer communities, but that doesn't
I
happen.
happen to know that black schools are getting more money than the white schools are because of the black politicians, and white people are afraid now, and yet the blacks are turning out screwed up. Why is that?
I didn't say that.
You didn't say what?
I didn't say the blacks are turning up screwed
No,
up.
I said it.
Oh,
I said,
okay.
and yet they're turning out screwed up. So they're getting the money going
Well,
to the schools.
I'm not so sure. I mean,
that they're screwed up, or that they're getting the money?
well, I would say this, that there are some inherent problems within the African American community, and not all of them can be attributed to certainly to the white community, but a great number of them can be. I'll just give you an example of this. I went to a historically black college in Texas, Prairie View A&M University.
I'm familiar with that.
And Prairie View was founded because the whites in Texas did not want black students to go to Texas A&M. So they founded Prairie View, and what they systematically did for its existence since 1876 is they underfunded the university. They did this.
Listen to me. I'm just going to say this one time. I appreciate this gentleman for teaching history. I appreciate from teaching history, but one thing that he will not do, he refused to do, is speak on real stuff that happens in the black community and what we are actually accountable for. Black people, y'all are strong. We are strong. We are strong. We are intelligent. We can clearly get through anything. How much longer are we going to complain about what we're not getting, and the reason why we had to create our own and blah blah blah? Okay, we had to create our own. We had to create our own universities. Now we got a poop ton of our own universities. How come we're going out of our way to go to the PWIs now? And then when we go to PWIs, we're crying and complaining until we get our own little sub HBCU inside of the PWI, predominantly white institution. Clearly, this gentleman right here has a different way of thinking than the same black culture that you hear on the radio and that you see on the movies. He has a different way of thinking. He attributes it to his college degree, but it's really just him making up his mind to move in a different direction. That's it. That's it. Now, are there people trying to hold us back? Are there? Next question. How is it holding you back? Because when there was no jobs, when I was not being hired, when I was 20 years old, when I was 21 years old, and I was just now starting my own family, already had I had one child at this time, and was working on my second, because all of my kids are 2 years apart. In any event, we started young. And I left college. I dropped out of college to make sure that my wife and children did not have what I had, what I didn't have, and that's a father in the household, and was working. So I was going from store to store, door to door, putting in applications, signing up right there on the spot. And guess what? I wasn't receiving a lot of them jobs. So I ended up taking some jobs where it was commission only. Commission only. Here's the thing. I didn't take no for an answer. I didn't take no for an answer. At all. At all. I didn't take no I can't find a way. So guess what? We're gonna have to sign up for welfare, because I was in the welfare system my entire adolescent life. As a matter of fact, if you look inside of my Teespring right now, you will see that I have shirts called Welfare Boy. It's a long story behind that. And when I was talking to Jesse Lee Peterson, he asked me about that. And I told him about that because listen, I broke away from that way of thinking. I broke away from it. There's so many other people who can break away from it. If you don't have it and you're not trying to help me get it, then I'm going to go get it from somewhere else. Period. Why are we always trying to focus on what we don't have and who needs to help us get it or who is preventing us and trying to stop us from getting it? We all love some daggone sports. We love sports. But sports is nothing without someone trying to stop you from scoring. I want y'all to think about that. Sports is nothing without someone trying to stop you. It has to be something. Someone trying to beat you there to get there first or stop you from getting there. That's why we love it so much. And that's why them people get paid more than anybody else in the world. And that's why these kids are going through all these different types of systems, AAU, circuits, and whatnot, because they're trying to get to where they are so that they can compete at a high level. But as soon as we have to compete, and we think that we start complaining because we're like, oh, it's stacked against us. And what are you made of? What are you teaching your kids to be made of? How long are we going to continue to teach people how much they are being held down and oppressed? Teach history all you want, but at the same time, you need to empower people to be able to get out there and go for theirs, no matter what. Because the complaining is going to slow them down, because as soon as they fail, they're going to feel like they have a valid reason for failure. And they're not even going to try to get up on their own feet. They're going to try to get somebody to bail them out. That's when you talk about that, that's when you're really talking about your people. White people are having the same exact problem right now. Hispanics are having that problem too. Guess what? We keep on talking about how much we're being held back. These other people are coming from these other countries, and they're either getting the jobs before us. I bet we have a complaint or a reason for that. We have an excuse for the reason why they're getting the jobs. They're only getting the jobs because these business owners know that they can pay them twice as little as they pay us, and plus they can pay them under the table since they ain't citizens. Okay, all right. So what's your excuse for the people who are testing high to get into these elite schools? Those are usually foreigners as well. First time, second time, the first or second generations. They are studying their asses off. They are working their tails off. They have some discipline. They're not succumbing to culture. They're not succumbing to making up excuses for everything. As soon as we start to teach people that it's okay to constantly look back and make excuses, that's exactly what they're going to continue to do.
Knowing that even under Jim Crow, the idea was separate but equal. They had separate, but it was not equal. So just to keep going here, just for a moment, the answer to that is that I know a person like yourself could not think that that would be anywhere fair, nor would you probably want to say that those students receive the same type of quality of education as those students who went to the all-white Texas A&M.
I happen to think that that's perfect. That if that happened, that it happened that way, because when people are not supposed to take care of you, you're supposed to take care of yourself. And I happen to know that in the good old days when boys were boys and men were men, if somebody refused to give you something, you go out and get it yourself. It brought out the best in black people.
Yeah, sure.
And
Didn't I just
I
say
grew up
that?
on a plantation
I
in
just said
Alabama
that.
under the Jim Crow laws. And because blacks didn't rely on the whites or begging someone for something, they had families, they worked hard, they created their own, they were doing quite well. It wasn't until they started begging and blaming
but you can't,
with the civil rights movement that they became weak and pathetic.
But I know that you're not trying to suggest that life for African Americans was some type of a utopia in 1870.
Well, I don't know about
Life for
18.
most black people was a living hell.
I don't know about 1870, but I know about from 1949 to this day, it's been paradise for blacks. But they're so angry and demoralized, they don't realize it.
I will concede that I think that there are some black people who are definitely angry, and there's good reason for it.
There's never a good reason to be angry.
Okay.
Let me ask, if black people did what white people did, and the Jews,
Which is?
if they got married instead of
Oh,
having
okay.
70% of the children out of wedlock, if the mother stayed home and deal with the children when they go and come from school, the father provided. If they set a good example for their kids of working hard, treating people the way they would like to be treated, not blaming at others, would blacks be well off today, or would they still be in this hole that they're
I
in?
don't know how to answer that question because I think the African American experience is unique. I mean, what other racial group had organizations that were designed and built specifically to kill them?
No, I'm asking you.
I
a
mean,
whole
we could,
lot of other
yeah,
organizations
we could
went
say
through that.
probably in Nazi Germany, certainly the Nazi regime was designed in a way
Well,
to
white people have been
exterminate
enslaved
Jews.
too, and they're doing quite well.
Where's that?
But I want to go back
Where's
to my
that?
question.
Wait a minute, but where's that?
They were enslaved in this country. They have been enslaved
In this
here before.
country?
Oh,
Where?
yeah. There were white
Who?
slaves as well.
Who?
But let's go back to the
Wait a
question.
minute, wait a minute. White
I wanna
slaves
go back to
where?
And the reason why he's so excited and wants to hear more about that is because he want to hear the level playing field. He want to hear that, oh man, they really was okay. What happened? Tell me more. I think that Jesse Lee Peterson is kind of missing the opportunity to give him that information that he's asking for. And that information is something that I found out by listening to Thomas Sowell. Blew my mind too. But here we are again talking about algorithm. If the gentleman does not have that information and if he's never searched for that information, the universe is not going to push any of that his way. So he's only going to see what he's been searching for. And what he's been searching for is heavily on the African Americans community. That's it. The African American community is what he heavily understands based off of his own teachings and based off of what he's learned and what he teaches people on a day-to-day basis. So he's laughing right now. He's feeling real cool and smug because Jesse Lee Peterson is not willing to have that conversation right now. He wants to move on.
You didn't answer my question first.
Okay.
If black people didn't have 70% of their babies out of wedlock, and they loved what was right and did the right thing, got married, set a good example, taught their kids how to work and be responsible, treat people the way that they would like to be treated, would they still be whimpering and whining and begging and blaming about 1800s
I don't know.
today?
You're making the assumption that inherently there are some of these things that black people don't do. Certainly there is a problem of out of babies being born out of wedlock, but that's symptomatic of the white community.
But
right?
we
see that. I think
the whites are not begging and blaming. It's the blacks who are begging and blaming.
Well, I wouldn't characterize it as begging and blaming.
What would you call it?
I'm not sure how to answer that. What I would argue is I think that there is an argument within the black community that there is a debt that is owed to black people.
Amazing. So I need to go back to my question because you didn't answer it yet.
Yeah, because I'm not sure quite how to answer that.
Black people did what the Jews are doing, the whites are doing, and others, if they got married, they set a good example for the kids. The father went out and provided for his family. They taught the kids to work and be responsible. Would the blacks be in the situation they're in today?
Okay, I would argue that your question, just as its surface, is a somewhat loaded question, and I think the bottom baseline answer to that would be, of course. Right, we would.
So why not teach them to do that?
Who's not teaching them to do that?
Are you teaching them that it's not the white man and you guys are doing it wrong?
I teach my students that every person has a responsibility to do for themselves.
But are you also teaching them that the white man is trying to hold them back?
I'm not teaching them that the white man is trying to hold them back. I am telling them that there are institutions.
That the white man held them back and is holding them back. Yes, you are teaching them that, sir. Respectfully, you are teaching them that. And I'm not trying to disrespect you because I respect teachers and professors. Some of the people who watch my channel, they get super upset at leftist or liberal professors because professors are they're misusing and abusing their power as a professor, and they're teaching things inside of these universities that they probably shouldn't be teaching because they're trying to push a narrative to these students who aren't there for that, and they're not going to walk away any smarter from the narratives that's being pushed on them. But I will say this: you are not teaching them the leveled thought processes. You are not, because and clearly you have a certain love and understanding, mostly for African Americans, than anyone else on this planet. All right, you do, and because of that, you don't want to hear anything that's coming across that table or coming across that room from Jesse Lee Peterson that's going to be negative about African Americans. But what you fail to understand is, until we acknowledge these things, that's the only way we can move forward. If we are looking at these other nationalities, these other races, and we're looking at how they're doing things, guess what? When they work together, they get things done faster, and they get things done more efficiently. And if we're not focusing on that, then, and we're not teaching that, then we are losing more and more ground. Just saying.
And patterns of racism that are embedded in the fabric of America that will at times challenge you.
Do you tell them that white people are racist?
I tell them that there are racist people in America.
Do you tell them that those racist people are white people?
No, I do not.
So you don't say white people are racist?
I tell them that there are racist people in America.
And who are those people?
They could be just about anybody who has power in this country. If someone has the ability to deny you a job based on your skin color, they probably are racist.
So I hear that the Jews have a lot of power. Are they racist?
Some could be. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact.
But they have a lot of power.
Yeah, if a Jewish person denied you a job based on your skin color, that's probably racist.
But it's probably not. It's just economic privilege. Everybody got, see, we keep on talking about white privilege, white privilege. It's economic privilege. The people with the power, they control everything. That mighty dollar, that gold, that diamonds, those people control that, the oil. Those people control things. And until we understand that we are all in the same boat, we are all trying to make sure that our family survive and thrive and do well and are safe and healthy. We are all in the same exact boat. But the more and more and more and more that we feed this fire, we're feeding the flame, we're dousing it with gasoline and oxygen, because you need them. You need them both. We're dousing it with anything that continues to just blow this bad boy out of proportion. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to get worse and worse and worse, man. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. At some point, bruh, start seeing what he's saying. He's asking some straight up questions. Answer them bad boys, man. Y'all are going to get somewhere good if you have an honest conversation.
So do you agree that they have a lot of power?
Well, some Jews do. Some black people have a lot of power. Some white people have a lot of power.
Are those Jews racist?
Which ones? The ones that discriminate against you because of your skin color? No, not because they have power.
Are white people who have power?
No, not because they have power.
Okay. There are, it's changing a little bit. They're trying to change it. But light-skinned blacks discriminate against dark-skinned blacks. Some of them won't hire them.
Yeah, we have a colorism issue.
Are they racist?
Well, I would say that if a light-skinned black person had the power to deny you a job, they probably might be racist. If they're doing it because you are a dark-skinned black person, they probably are racist.
So anyone
black people, if they have power, can be racist. We can see this in Haiti.
Do you believe that all white people are racist? Or just
Oh, absolutely
some?
not.
Oh, okay.
There are some really good people of all races.
Okay.
No.
Do you tell your class that?
Oh, absolutely.
And so when I was growing up under the Jim Crow laws, blacks did better then because they believed in God. They got married. They had, you know, they took care of their families. The parents and grandparents were around. They did much better then. They bought land. They created their own schools. They came back as professionals. They were doing better, and they were not blaming anything on white people. They were not blaming anything on white people. What was the difference then and now when they got all the freedom now to do whatever they want?
Okay, now I think I understand a little bit better where you're going with your argument. Then this is where I will concede. I think that there is one essential thing that black people, I think, don't talk about a lot, and that is after the Civil War, black people really did have to depend on themselves. And I think people like Michelle Alexander will concede the idea that before we had desegregation, full-blown desegregation, there were a lot more black doctors, there were more black engineers, more black lawyers. I think black people there were a lot more black professionals, leaders in their communities. And I think
but they were not thinking of, don't believe Michelle, she's not all there.
Well, I think her statement, is absolutely right, and I think she would back you up on your assessment.
The way she presented, as though white people.
Well, I'm not speaking about her entire argument. I'm just talking about the argument here where she makes the argument that before desegregation, before blacks were quote unquote allowed, there were.
That was my very first time hearing Michelle Alexander's name, so I will definitely be looking into her.
There were more black doctors, more black lawyers.
I know, but at that time, black people were not into black. They were doing it because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
they were decent people, so they just
took
care of their families. They took care of themselves. They weren't into, oh, I got to do better than the whites, or the whites are trying to hold me back. Because they were taught to treat everybody the same.
Well, I think black communities were more unified, I think, to some degree.
No, they weren't unified. It's
I would argue
because if you were a bad black person, you can't hang out with the other black people. I remember so many times when if the parents were bad, my parents would say, you can't hang out with those kids. The parents are no good, so the kids are no good too. And they were black. It was based on right and wrong.
Well, that's what I was taught, so I don't know. I mean, my mother was old school, right, from Texas,
right.
So
So why can't you guys go back to teaching that rather than all this phony racism stuff?
Well, I hope that you're not trying to concede the idea that racism doesn't exist and that we shouldn't be teaching. You're saying that racism does not exist?
Not at all. It has never existed. It's a made-up lie from the children of the lie to control the masses. Our battle is a spiritual battle. It's a battle between right and wrong.
So
and just for the record, I think that racism is still alive and well. I just don't believe that that is so alive that it could prevent us from reaching our destiny and doing what God has planned for us to do. Yeah. And I think that far more nationalities have become racist. And that's why I believe it's alive and well. The type of conversations that I hear, and I'm not going to tell anybody's business, but the type of conversations that I hear, they come from mostly blacks and Hispanics. All right? And the type of stuff I hear, come on, man. Yeah. If you heard that, you'd be like, God, okay, racism is still alive. And listening to this, my gracious. Now that's you really can't. I understand what Jesse Lee Peterson is doing. He's trying to get him to understand that this world is bigger than, teaching people about racism. You want to teach people what to look forward to so they can survive. Okay, cool. But you also want to teach them the things that are far more important. You know what I mean? Stick-to-itiveness. Pushing your fun back into you've handled business. Like actually, reward yourself for being a student of life first. You know what I mean?
People who are teaching racism.
Okay, so let me see
Let
if
me
I
just
have,
finish this
okay.
first. Those people who are teaching racism are evil people, and they're trying to control the people by getting them to believe a lie.
So let me see if I've got this right. You're making the argument that the idea that there are people in the world who are discriminating against you based on your race does not exist.
We all discriminate, and it's not based on race per se, but it's based on the character of the person or your desire for what you want.
So you're saying those guys carrying tiki torches in Charlottesville, Virginia, yelling "Jews will not replace us," those are not racists?
You mean the guys in the mask?
No, the guys who were walking around Charlottesville, the campus, and they were yelling "Jews will not replace us," burning tiki torches. They were not racist.
I don't remember that, but if it happened, it was evil, not racism.
Oh, well, I don't know what to tell you. I believe that racism actually does exist.
It doesn't. Do you discriminate?
Yeah, I think I do.
And are you a racist?
No, I have no power.
So you don't have power.
No.
But you.
Come on, brother. Come on, man. Son, come on, man. You're cowering. You're making yourself small so you can seem big. That makes absolutely no sense. Don't make yourself small, man. You know very well you have power. You know very well you have power. Come on, man.
You discriminate.
Yes,
And it's
of
not
course.
racist.
No, because I have no power to discriminate
So are
against
you saying
anybody.
white people who don't have power but they discriminate, they're not racist?
That's correct.
Amazing. How did you come up with that?
It's fairly standard
Were
knowledge.
you taught that at a school or something?
No, it's something that I've come to understand about reading and contemplating.
I have to tell you.
As you would say, reasoning, getting high.
Do you get high every day?
No, I don't.
How often do you get high?
Maybe once a month.
Oh, I see. So let me ask. I say that there's no such thing as racism, sexism.
That's crazy.
No sexism, homophobiaism, Islamophobia, deadbeat dadism, white supremacism, no isms.
Okay.
It's only good or evil, right versus wrong.
Okay.
Am
I
I
mean,
wrong?
that's an interesting worldview, but okay.
Am I wrong?
I think you are wrong.
Why?
I think that history clearly shows that there is a pattern of racial aggression
You've been lied to.
against black people.
You've been lied
Well,
to.
by whom?
By whomever you've been reading about or you heard this mess from.
So I think that the average person on the street, if you ask them if racism exists in the world, they would tell you yes. You're telling all of us. I would contemplate that there's got to be 7 billion people on the planet, and I would say at least 3 billion of those probably would be able to exercise some judgment. We're all wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
When I was blind, I thought racism exists too. When I came to California and started listening to the lies from the intellectuals, I thought racism existed
So
too.
the
But when I
Klan was
started
preaching
when I started
evil.
thinking for myself, I realized that it was all lies.
So when the Klan says that black people are inherently intellectually inferior and ought to be wiped off the face of the earth, you're saying that that's not racism?
It's not.
It's just,
It's evil.
okay,
If they believe that, that's evil. It's wrong.
okay.
Is that possible?
It certainly is evil to me.
So when black lives, you know that
certainly evil to
organization,
me.
that radical organization.
You know, black people, we do that too, man. We the strongest. We are the first. They all want to be like us. They want our skin. They want our hair. They want to take our culture. They love the way we dance. They want to take our moves. They want to take our grooves. They want to take our rhythm. They can't do it. They want our butts. They paying for it. They want our lips. They paying for it. Like, huh? You want to talk about people who are being, come on, man. Come on. This is the problem I have with this argument that we are victims, man, because we also know a great deal of people, but we won't admit it. We won't admit it. We know a great deal of people who act just like or are even worse than the people that we choose to point at when we're talking about racism, when we're trying to give an example, a good example of the people we're trying to demonize. We exclude our own. That right there is disingenuous. It's disingenuous, guys. I'm not. Hey, look, I don't mind standing by myself on this hill. I don't mind. I really don't. Fairness ain't fair. Ain't no such thing as fair. Yeah, period. So everybody that's trying to get their fair share and their fair docket and their fair dollar, and they want to get paid for what their ancestors went through, then guess what? Work hard like your ancestors, and you will be paid for it.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe them as radical.
They are very radical and evil, and they were founded by a bunch of black lesbians.
Okay, I think they are, but
when they were chanting,
I don't see anything wrong with that.
when they were chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them now?"
I think
was
some
that
people.
racism?
I don't think any of the founding members of Black Lives Matter shouted that. I think some
was
of
that racism?
I don't see how is that racism.
When they were chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops." You don't see that as racist?
No, how do those people who have Black Lives Matter have any ability to affect the lives of cops?
So when they were chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it now?" Pigs in the blanket, fry 'em like bacon, and people started going out killing cops.
Who
You
went
don't
out and
think-
killed cops?
Black people started killing cops. You don't remember that?
No.
Oh yeah, Texas and all over the
In
place.
Philly?
And you don't see that as racism.
To me,
He will not see it as racism because he is there to protect a group. That's it. I'm here to protect a group. And when I go back to my group and when I go to our group meetings, I'm not going to look like no sellout Jack. I'm going to look cool and I'm going to look like the black man that I am. That's what I'm going to look like. I'm not acknowledging anything you talking about, brother.
there is no direct correlation between what anybody said in a Black Lives Matter rally and cops being
You're not
shot.
being honest.
I would say that I am being factual.
And so how is it that you say that's not racism?
No.
Is it racist to chant, "What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it now?"
No, because cops can be black as well, right?
Maybe,
so if
but
Black
they weren't
Lives
killing
Matter,
black cops. They were killing white ones.
I don't know that to be true.
And when they were saying pigs in the blanket, fry 'em like bacon, is that racism?
I wouldn't say that would be true because whites say that as well.
So how is it that you see the Klansmen, what they did as racism, but you don't see the radical
Because
blacks
Klan
as
people
racism?
knocked on black people's doors and killed them
So that's
because
why,
of the color of their skin. There is
So-
a vast difference.
So when you saw cops being killed as a result,
I've never
after
seen
chanting,
one single cop ever be killed.
Do you know about the cops that were killed by a black man in Texas?
I know
as a
that there are
result
lots
after what
of
Black
cops.
Lives Matter did?
I was a military police officer, so I know that being a policeman is dangerous work, right? So
That's amazing.
So I am the first one to sit here and say that it's tough work, but I don't
you
know.
don't see it as racist.
No, I do not.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. I think I've talked enough. It's y'all turn now. Please let me know whatever y'all want me to know in the comments below. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Look at that right there. It says it says 11 officers shot. Four dead. Snipers fire on downtown protest. 11 officers shot, 4 dead. That's why he said amazing. And then he went to that right there. So I look forward to seeing y'all in the next video. Hopefully inside the Patreon as well. Y'all have been amazing per usual. Love y'all. Bye.